everyone! Today we are inside the Apothecary with a tutorial on the ins and outs of essential oils. This episode is very important because it is setting up the basis for our upcoming Inside the Apothecary episodes, in which you will learn all about each individual oil, how it's used, where it comes from, contraindications and safety tips, what to look for when buying oils, blending, and various recipes. In order for these episodes to make sense to you, you need to know the basics. So let's start with a brief history on the origins of essential oils. Since the beginning of recorded history, aromatic plants have been used to scent, beautify, and heal the body. They also played a major role in preserving food because of the antibacterial properties. And about 2,400 years ago, herbalists and physicians knew the great value of these plants and used them to help heal their patients. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, recommended various plants to aid in clearing congestion, inflammation, the healing of wounds, and so on. The Romans, Greeks, and Egyptians all used plants in medicinal and ceremonial ways. Today, we know this practice as aromatherapy. Aromatherapy can be defined as the controlled use of essential oils to maintain and promote physical, psychological, and spiritual well-being. Okay, so then what are essential oils? Essential oils are volatile substances that occur naturally in a variety of plants growing all over the world. Each plant essence is extracted from a single botanical source to a number of possible methods, usually and most commonly steam distillation or cold press. Pure essential oils are highly concentrated compounds that have been pressed or distilled from plants. Unlike fixed oils, such as vegetable cooking oils, they don't have a fatty or oily component. They are called essential because they carry the distinctive fragrance or essence of the plant or plant part from which they are made. So how are essential oils made? There are several different ways that essential oils are extracted depending on the plant material. This material can be the parts of flowers, leaves, barks, roots, seeds, grasses, wood, buds, or even its resin. Depending on the density of the material, the appropriate extraction method is used. Again, the most common is steam distilled. In steam distillation, the chosen plant material is put into a special chamber, and with considerable pressure, steam is then forced into that chamber. As it passes through the plant material, the steam ruptures the plant oil-bearing sacs and cavities, and it liberates its essence, which consequently evaporates into steam. The steam and vaporized essential oil then pass out of the chamber and through a coiled tube surrounded by cold water. This causes condensation, water and liquid essential oil, which flow into a collecting jar. The essential oil is not able to mix with water and so forms a layer directly on top of it, making it easy to separate. The top layer is what we know as pure essential oil. The water below it is separated and will still have small quantities of fragrance principles remaining in the water, and this is known as hydrosol. Hydrosol is also therapeutic and used for various topical and cosmetic purposes. Another extraction method is cold press. This is typically used for citrus fruit rinds. The outer layer of the peel is ruptured through mechanical means using no heat, and the essence is pressed out. Cold-pressed grades of orange, bergamot, mandarin, grapefruit, lemon, and lime oils are all obtained this way. While the purity level of this method is extremely high, it brings with it a contraindication of photosensitivity in the skin when using these oils topically and exposing the skin to sun. In most recent times, aromatherapists have developed a steam-distilled method of extracting these rinds. While not as pungent as cold-pressed, the photosensitivity contraindication has been removed by using steam distillation. This is one of the reasons it is so important to purchase oils that specify the method of extraction on the label. But we'll get to that later. Another very effective method is carbon dioxide extraction. This process uses carbon dioxide that's been chilled to a specific degree and then blasted through the plant material. It's very much like cold pressing and yields pure essential oils that have not been even slightly altered by exposure to heat. There are two other forms of extraction which are not as popular as the previous two, but worth knowing. One of these is using the aid of a solvent, such as hexane or benzene. Solvent extractions or separations are often used to extract aromatic principles from plants with a very low yield of essence, such as neroli and rose. It is generally preferred by the perfume industry as it's more economic than distillation, but not as pure essential oil because it contains additional plant constituents and leaves a small, tiny trace of the extraction chemical in the essential oil. Which brings me to the final extraction process. It's known as enfleurage. This method is used to extract the aromatic components of very delicate flowers, like jasmine. In this method, a layer of fresh flowers is placed on a thin layer of odorless animal fat. Over time, the fat gradually becomes saturated with the aromatic constituents of that flower. Then it's treated with alcohol to extract the oil. This process is very lengthy, expensive, and not very widely used. However, you will find it occasionally. Now that you know how essential oils are extracted, it's important to note that in general, oils are broken down into three basic components: top, middle, and base notes. The oil's top note are those that are light and fresh and aromatic, and the first on the nose when discerning in a blend. They predominate in the oils that evaporate more quickly, such as grapefruit and peppermint. The middle notes provide the heart and the bulk of the fragrance, and the base notes for the heavy and rich characteristics that are last to emerge, like patchouli. They evaporate the slowest and are typically used in very small amounts. Now let's talk about selecting your oils when you're at the store. It is very unfortunate that a high percentage of essential oils commonly sold to the public are adulterated in some way, and this is done to increase the profit margin without much concern for the consequences to the consumer. Some of the adulterations include adding a cheaper oil to a more expensive oil to stretch it, adding fractionalized components or synthetic chemicals and solvents. So hopefully by following these next simple rules, you can make a more educated decision on your purchase. Anytime you purchase an essential oil, first thing you want to do is look at the label. The label should identify the plant's origin. This is very important because you want to pick oils that are from their original country for the highest therapeutic purpose. Do you want the label to identify the part of the plant that's being used? Yes, because in most cases, there are multiple parts of a plant that can be turned into essential oils, and those can have different therapeutic properties. So depending on what you are wanting to use the oil for, it's important to know what part of the plant is being extracted in the oil you have. The method of distillation should be on there. This is important, especially when you're looking at citrus oils. Perhaps you want to use lemon topically to treat a facial concern, but you're out in the sun a lot, so you definitely don't want to buy a cold-pressed lemon essential oil. You won't know unless it's labeled. Lastly, the oil should specify if there are any base oils added. The base oils, or also called carrier oils, are usually cold-pressed vegetable oils derived from seeds, nuts, fruits, and vegetables. An example would be jojoba, almond oil, cocoa butter, or sunflower seed oil, so on. These oils are used as a carrier to dilute the essential oil when applying topically to the skin to avoid adverse reactions. Now that you've looked at the label, something else you may want to consider is whether or not the oil is organic. Most essential oil farms are under strict guidelines as to the cultivation of the plants used for essential oil extraction, meaning that even if they're not certified organic, that does not necessarily mean that they are any less therapeutic. However, in recent years, organic essential oils have come to the market and are the preferred choice amongst holistic practitioners, healers, and aromatherapists, especially when recommended for internal use. As a general rule for me, I prefer to purchase organic because my use for the oil today may differ from what I need it for next month, so I prefer to know that the oil I have can be used for anything. Along with that comes the price, however. While organic is usually more expensive, as a general rule, price doesn't always distinguish a higher grade oil. Essential oil prices are established by several components. One is the store you are buying it. Individual stores purchase at wholesale and they have a recommended retail value that they should sell it at, but some stores honor that and others increase that depending on their clientele and demographic area. Another factor might be multi-level marketing companies such as doTERRA and Young Living. These companies have wonderful quality oils, but tend to be marked up heavily because they are commissions being paid out to the downlines or representatives that are selling to you. To add to that price, in basic business model, the more middlemen between the farm and the buyer, you, the higher the cost. So the more direct you can get, the less expensive. At the end of the day, you want to find a company that sells a high quality oil, that's not diluted with a carrier oil, that is transparent on their labeling, and that bottles their oils individually. Oil blends will typically have a base oil unless stated otherwise. Oils that do not specify what part of the plant are being used will a lot of the times use various parts from various farms. That incorporates low and high grade oil and mix it all together in a batch before bottling. This causes the oil to be less therapeutic, less pure, and from a medicinal standpoint, not really recommended. Now that you know how essential oils are made and how to pick them up at the store, let's look at how you can use these essential oils. Okay, so each oil has its own healing property. This is why I've decided to do the Inside the Apothecary series, where every episode will focus on a specific oil, so you can learn everything about it and be comfortable using it in a variety of ways. So look for those episodes to learn about the individual oils themselves. Here, I just want to go over the methods of application or how the oil is used. There are various ways that one can apply essential oils, both for therapeutic benefit and pleasure. First is topical application. There are certain essential oils that can be applied topically without a base oil, and these oils are known to be applied neat. In general, most people will require a base oil to avoid adverse reactions because essential oils are so concentrated. Blend your essential oils with your choice of base oil for the use of massage, bath soaks, ointments, creams, anything topical. Compresses can be used hot or cold for cramping pain, an isolated injury, swelling, or even burning situations. Steam inhalation is a great way to clear the lungs and sinus passages of mucus congestion and infection. Here you would add your essential oils to boiling water and draping a towel over your head, you breathe in the steam for 1 or 2 minutes at a time. Diffusing or vaporizing oils in a room is probably the most popular method used today. In this method, you would use a nebulizer or an essential oil diffuser. So let's talk about these for a second. A nebulizer is probably your most expensive option because it takes your pure, undiluted essential oil and disperses it into the air without heating the oil up. This is the most therapeutic method because it's the most concentrated vaporizing result. The majority of the world, however, will use a diffuser. Looking for a diffuser can be challenging. You want to look for one that has a little disc on the inside and uses sound frequency to disperse the water and essential oil mixture into a very fine mist. Again, there's no use of heat in this method. The reason we don't want to use heat is because once we warm the oil to a certain degree, it begins cooking much like food and loses its therapeutic properties. This is why, in my opinion, the essential oil burners that you will find out there that use a candle or are a plug-in to the electric socket or a light bulb ring, these methods basically cook off the oil into the air. This is not a therapeutic method, and it should really only be reserved for perfume oils. So, now that you're completely overwhelmed with a ton of information on essential oils, know that this is the key to selecting the best oils possible, and find comfort in knowing you can always revisit this episode to brush up on the information. In the description section below, you will find some links that I've put together to some essential oil companies that I find reputable, that have a good quality oil. They're going to be in a variety of price points to choose from. I also went ahead and included a few links to some diffusers and nebulizers that I personally use and I would recommend to you. I know it's hard sorting through things in the very beginning, so I did a lot of the work for you. In that description section, you'll find some links, a few coupons. As you know, I also own Lucie's Apothecary, and while I don't carry every essential oil out there, I do carry the basics. They are certified organic, and I use them in my natural remedies. So for basic oils that you want to start with, you can feel free to go to my website. I will list it below. I'll even put a coupon in there for you to get you started. And hopefully you can do your own little research and see what works best for you. Now, I want to leave you with some final little summarizations and tidbits of thought. First of all, essential oils are not oils at all. Despite their appearance and that oil part in their name, the substance we call essential oils are not technically oils. They do not contain any fatty acids, but we call them oil because they float on top of water. Okay? Fragrance oils that I mentioned earlier, they are not essential oils, even if the bottle is labeled as a natural fragrance. Fragrance oils or fragrance or basically perfume and are great for making your house smell great, but have zero therapeutic properties. Please don't use them in your natural remedies. Essential oils are highly concentrated. Just so you get the full grasp of what's inside your little bottle, it takes about 100 pounds of lavender flower to produce a single pound of lavender essential oil. Think about that for a second. It takes 2 tons of Bulgarian roses to produce just 1 pound of rose essential oil. That's also why it's probably amongst one of the most expensive oils on the market. But you see, a single drop of essential oil from your little bottle can contain the power of hundreds and sometimes thousands of plants. This is why it's also very important to be under guidance or supervision from a healthcare professional before trying to ingest essential oils. I don't agree with the demographic out there. You should not be consuming essential oils for pleasure, like adding lemon essential oil to your drinking water instead of an actual slice of lemon. They should only be consumed for therapeutic or medicinal purposes, such as treating stomach ulcers or cancer, and in those cases even, you must get the advice of a healthcare professional in the event that something goes wrong. If you are pregnant, for your own safety and until you are completely experienced with oils, please skip essential oils altogether during your first trimester. Many essential oils stimulate blood flow to the uterus, bringing on menstruation, and can cause a miscarriage. So it's very important to know the contraindications of the oils you are using if you are pregnant. For your second and third trimesters, essential oils can be very beneficial, and we'll talk about that in a different episode. For the safety of your household, if you have children or pets, please keep your essential oils out of their reach. Certain oils are totally safe and ideal for use by everybody in your family, but many are not suitable for children, others are not suitable for pets, and they can be severely toxic if swallowed. You don't want to put yourself into that situation. Put them away somewhere safe. If you're using an oil for the very first time, I recommend you do a patch test prior to diving into full usage and application to the body. You would combine a single drop of the oil you purchased with about a half a teaspoon of a carrier oil, and then rub it on the inside of your upper arm. Okay? If your patch test after about 10 minutes has no itching or redness, then it's safe to use. But no, if you're allergic to a specific plant, like if you're allergic to lavender, you may also be allergic to its essential oil. Not always, which is why I recommend you do that patch test, because oils are highly concentrated form of the plant that you're allergic to. So do it, patch test, or just avoid the oil altogether. Finally, I want you to store your oils properly. You're putting in a lot of money to purchase these, and heat and sunlight destroy your oils over time. Avoid storing your essential oils near a heat source or direct sunlight, as well as repeated exposure to the two. If you're carrying them in your purse in the middle of the desert all day long, they're going to get deteriorated. Keep them stored somewhere dark and relatively cool, like the inside of a box or a medicine cabinet. And when stored properly, essential oils can have a potency life of about 10 years or more. Okay, shelf life for these are pretty indefinite, but the most therapeutic they're going to ever be is about that 10-year marker. and that's when stored properly. So it's very important also for that reason that all your oils and the blends you make are then stored in dark colored glass bottles, and never plastic, because they will eat it up. So glass bottles, dark color, and again, tuck them away. Okay, so now don't get overexcited. This is a lot of information. You'll be wanting to dive in and buy an entire apothecary worth of essential oil. Look, at the end of the day, they're going to sit in your cabinet unused and you just wasted a bunch of money. So I recommend you introduce 1 or 2 oils at a time, learn how to use them fully, understand everything about them before adding more oils to your collection. Essential oils are all natural. This means that they should be used as soon as symptoms arise or an injury occurs for maximum potency, okay? And since essential oils are so effective, you probably are wondering why they are not part of the mainstream medicine. Well, it's really quite simple. Essential oils are natural, and in America, pharmaceutical companies cannot patent natural product, nor are there any regulatory companies to keep the essential oil sellers honest, which is why we have to do all this research, and we have to be careful about what we buy. If you ever have the opportunity to visit places like France or Switzerland, Italy, other European nations that regulate natural medicine, you're going to find very highly potent essential oils not in the stores, but in their pharmacies. And their regulations and labeling are very strict and very different. If you can't read the label, or there's not enough information on the label like we've been talking about, you won't find labels that have origins and parts being used and all that stuff in Europe. But they have pharmacists and aromatherapists on staff that can help you choose the correct oil, and they are very much regulated very strictly because they are considered medicine, and so the view is a little bit different. But I hope that this has been very informative. If you did learn something and you enjoyed today's episode, do me a favor, and at the bottom left of the video, or I guess you're right, there is a little thumbs up, thumbs down button. Please give it a thumbs up so that I know that the information I'm giving you is beneficial, and I hope that it has created a little bit of comfort in pursuing this amazing world of essential oils. They are amazing. They do so much. I hope that you learned a lot and you're ready to get started with them. But that's it for today. We are all done. So, na zdraví, to good health, and I will see you next time.